Yeah. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to thank Alexis for this kind introduction, and I'd like to thank the organizing committee to invite me for this talk. It was, of course, a pleasure and honor for me to accept, and there was no doubt to come to your beautiful city of Kiev. It's the first time I'm here in the Ukraine. Okay, I certainly am a supercomputer guy. I started to be involved in supercomputing since 30 years or so, and started the Mannheim Supercomputer Seminar, later on renamed as International Supercomputing Conference, and the Top 500 is one of my most favorite babies, so to say, and this project was started not only by me but by a colleague of mine, and me in 1993. There is no need for you to write down what is the content of the different foils here, since at the end of my talk I give you a link where you can download the PDF version of all of my slides. And so if there is one thing, you can forget everything what I'm telling you, but there is one thing you should not forget, that is that supercomputer, the term supercomputer is a relative one, a highly relative one, since in the following sense that a supercomputer today is a personal computer or even a tablet computer of tomorrow. So you should keep that in mind, and I will give you a drastic example of that. In '86, the University of Stuttgart is close to Mannheim, where I'm coming from, acquired the Cray 2, the famous Cray 2 with 4 processors, and they had to pay $22 million US for this machine, not included already the cost for the additional infrastructure. This machine required a special cooling system, and everything was, you had to add $10 more million US, and the Cray 2 was the first machine making the 1 gigaflops, 1 billion floating points per second threshold at this time in '86. 25 years later, in 2011, Apple came up with this tablet computer, the iPad 2, and my friend Jack Dongar at the University of Tennessee measured that this guy has the same performance as the Cray 2. But you don't have to pay $22 million for the guy, but only say $500 US, and this guy does not need any special cooling or things like that. So that is really important to keep in mind, that a supercomputer is a relative term, and today's supercomputer is tomorrow's tablet computer. Here is the outline of my talk. I will start with the so-called Mannheim supercomputer statistics, where I, in the opening session of the seminars, gave an overview about the supercomputers installed in the world. The second point is that I focus a bit on the top 10 area of major interests, especially the number 1 is included there, and the top of the top, so to say. And I will come with one of the major strengths of the Top 500 project to give record the performance supercomputers installed, etc., etc. I also have very nice charts for you. That is the point, developments over time. And for me, the next point, competition between countries, manufacturers and sites, is the most important one, since this is the basis of the success of the top 500. The competition between countries, that is very important for politicians, giving you the money to buy such an expensive computer, or the competition between manufacturers, of course, the interest between HP, for example, and IBM, and Japanese manufacturers, etc. And I will tell you that we use as a performance measure the LINPACK benchmark. Why we are doing that, I will give you some background information. And of course, we have been criticized about taking just LINPACK, and I remember the time when we announced to come up with the 500 project in 93, in spring 93, that there was, for example, email by a guy from Gray and said, that is not university-like to take such a measure, but I can tell you that now at our conference in June, there was a special session where manufacturers and analysts and users are talking about the top 500 now in the 20th year. We will come up with a 20th list at the end of this year, and they are now all more or less satisfied with the top 500. I will give you the pros and cons of LINPACK and alternative supercomputer rankings, and by the end I will give you not only an outlook for the future of the top 500, but also about the supercomputer especially. And here are the statistics in the opening session of the Mannheim Supercomputer seminars. I presented in 7 consecutive years the statistic on the top systems in the world, or not the top, the supercomputers in the world. And at the end, in 92, we ended up with 530 systems, and I asked you to keep this number in mind. It has something to do with the top 500. And here is the manufacturer share at the very beginning, and over 7 years, the leading manufacturer has been Cray Research with 60%. Then the rest was the 3 Japanese manufacturers, NEC, Hitachi, and Fujitsu. Fujitsu in lead with 30%, and there has been a second US manufacturer, Data Corporation, with their cyber systems, but at the end of the 80s they were decreasing, and in 91 they gave up the supercomputer business. So we have just Cray, Fujitsu, Hitachi, NEC, nobody else. If we look in the next slide at the country share, we see the following, that the most important country at the very beginning was the US with more than 50%, but they decreased to 35% or so, and the opposite was true in Japan, that they started with 20% and have been stronger at the end of our statistic 92 with 40%. So that at this time, a rumor came up not only because of our statistics, but because of other reasons, that there is a Japanese supercomputer danger. So we have been very much interested in our first top 500, what will be shown about this term, the supercomputer danger. And here are the deficits of the Mannheim supercomputer statistics. They are not very reliable for the following reason. We knew very well about the vector supercomputers, and vector supercomputers at the beginning has been a synonymous expression for high performance computers or supercomputers at all. And we knew about the installations in Europe, in the United States, but have been not so sure what happened in Japan. So I asked the three manufacturers, Hitachi, Fujitsu, and NEC. They gave me their result, and I made a certain mixture, and okay, this was not very reliable, and we did not have a definition of supercomputer. So one of the manufacturers, one guy came to me and said, why you are taking a Crane 1 already in the German Museum in Munich as a supercomputer in your statistics, not a Convex C1, for example. Okay, these are the deficits, and this gives us the idea, or then Erich Strohmeyer and myself came up with the top 500 procedure, listing the 500 most powerful computers in the world. So that does mean that we also do not introduce what is the definition of a supercomputer, but we do a ranking. And if you wish, you can say a supercomputer is a computer making the top 500 list. Why we take 500? Please remember what I told you before. We ended up with 530 systems with our statistics, and this was one reason why we decided to start with 500. And there is another more emotional reason, that is, you know, everybody knows the Forbes 500 list about the 500 richest men, 500 most important companies in the world, etc. And as a yardstick, we took our maps of LINPACK. This is the best LINPACK performance we solved. This problem of linear equations, the matrix is random, and best LINPACK performance is the following. You blow up the system as big as possible, then it fits into the main memory and solves the system, and you have the best LINPACK performance. Then we made the decision to update twice a year, once at our supercomputer conference in Germany in June, and one at the US supercomputer conferences in November. So, of course, there are alternative solutions, but we are glad that we made this decision. You can claim why not doing it in a continuous way. You have a list, and the stronger computer comes into this, you have always an actual list. But one reason against is that it is not so easy to keep such a list actual, and it's a lot of work to do. And on the other hand, doing twice a year, you have the advantage to see the differences. What are the differences to the last list and things like that. So I think this was a good decision. And all the results of our list are available on our top 500 site. Here is the URL. You have everything here. You can find also slides I'm showing here, not in PowerPoint version, but in another version. You can do your own research with the top 500 list. download this app to your iPad or to your iPhone, and you have results of all 39 lists now. By the end of this year, we will have all the lists up to 40. And here are the two guys starting the project in 1993. That was my young colleague here, Strohmeyer, who was working in our computing center, and myself, and I have already explained to you why we started the project. The reason was to have a better basis for the Mannheim Supercomputer Statistics, as not with all the deficits I have explained to you, and then to become more successful, we all had in mind to do a good job. I asked my old friend Jack Dondara, he's the author of Impact, as you know, and he also agreed to participate in the project. And later on, we have the fourth author, that is Simon. He's also since November 2000, and he is doing a great job with authorities, with government, making the top 500 well known in all these sites. But at the moment, I can say the project is successful and is accepted now around the world. And here is an interesting slide where you see the replacement rate over time. The first one is that less than 100 systems have been replaced since they have not been powerful enough. And there is a point where even 300 systems have been replaced. And in the average, you can say around 200 systems are dropping off since they are not powerful enough, and they are replaced by new systems coming up. So that our decision to have two editions, can you hear me without holding this microphone? Okay, that's easier for me. So you see that this is a tough work to come up on a very reliable way, coming up with a new list that is more work as you can imagine, since we have, for example, the 15th of October now is the official deadline for submitting new systems, but of course we are not interested to come up with a list which is not actual, and the upper 10 most powerful systems, there are always changes up to the last minute, and we don't like the idea we publish a list which is not an actual one, since they miss the deadline. So we have exceptions, especially for the top 10 of those systems. They are allowed to get in contact with us and bring their latest measurements. So now let's come up with the top 10 in the last 3 lists. I start with the November list of, just a moment, with the November list in 2000. In June 11, sorry, in June 11, and here you see what we are. We have on the left column the rank, the site, the name of the site, the manufacturer, what kind of computer it is, the country, the number of cores. Cores is a very interesting point, and today there will be a talk on many cores. And the RMAX, that's the best link performance, and due to this RMAX very important, and I come back to this point just in a couple of minutes later. And here you see 10 systems, and this is the top 10, but all 10 systems are petaflop systems. And you see that the number 10 is a local runner from IBM installed at Los Alamos National Lab. And this system was the first system making the 1 petaflops threshold in 2008. That is 10 to the 15th floating point operations per second. And there are 9 other, even more powerful, and no more petaflop system in the list in June 11. Now I take the top 10 in November 11, and the yellow is indicating that this is the only change to the top 10 after half a year. So that is really a surprise. Everything is constant, but the Japanese guys managed that the kit computer was equipped with more cores. So due to that, they had a bigger performance, and so it was the first system making the 10 petaflop threshold in the world, and they had a tremendous power consumption of up to 13 or so, a little bit less than 13 megawatts. And you are still a factor of 100 away from the exaflop, 10 to the 18th floating point operations per second. I come to this later on. And this is interesting for the following reason. The DOE, the Department of Energy, has claimed or has given the order mufti, so to say, that an EXA-scale system, which we do expect, I come to this later on, in 2019, should not have more than 20 megawatts. And if already